If you're an investor looking for an asymmetric return potential right now, there's almost nowhere better to look than Canadian natural gas stocks. These companies offer great dividends, they offer fantastic upside, and they have been absolutely beaten down over the last few months. And I strongly believe we're going to see these stocks slingshot back up to where they were a couple months ago and far beyond. So let me cover why I think that's such an interesting opportunity and why I personally putting my money on the line and am buying natural gas stocks right now. First and foremost, we got to cover the story that has happened so far this year. If you haven't been following along, it basically went something like this. The start of the year, everyone was so excited about this thing called LNG Canada. If you don't know what that is, it's a giant LNG plant on the west coast of Canada. It was supposed to just fundamentally shift this industry. And it has. But the problem was that everybody was excited about this, including the companies producing natural gas up here. And they started ramping production. This ramp in production meant that theoretically natural gas prices would have stayed more or less flat. And 2024 natural gas prices were far off the highs. The problem was weather. Across the board in North America, it has been a colder summer than expected. And so we've seen less demand from home cooling, which is a major source of demand for natural gas. This meant that domestic demand was low, supply grew, and LNG just couldn't take off the excess, causing the price to drop. And this has led to brutal drops in stock prices. If we look here, I've got a year-to-date chart of one of our very favorite Canadian natural gas names, Tourmaline. It's one that I own myself. It's a great company. They are run by some of the best in the business. They are one of the most scale players in the natural gas space. If you want a natural gas focused name and you want the big dog, you should be buying Tourmaline. But if you bought it at just about any point this year, I mean, look at that chart. It's not good. There are very few times that you could have been buying this at a discount. And even when you were buying it at early April, when everything crashed, there are so many other things that have performed better. But counterintuitively, I'm buying it right now. You might be asking, okay, well, if natural gas prices are down, we have this structural oversupply, we have a reduction in demand this summer, we're going into the fall, which is a low demand period on average, because the fall weather is usually more aligned with what people want their homes to be. You get where I'm going with this. Why would you be buying this stock? Why would you put your money on the line now? Well, I think it has to do with the slingshot effect. This is what I'm going to call it. Tourmaline is a great cash flowing company in a business that is seeing real growth. And a lot of players across the board in natural gas have had challenges this year keeping up. Many of them have had to cut rigs. Many of them are just producing natural gas at a much higher price. Being such a large player in Canada, one of the lowest cost areas to produce natural gas, means that Tourmaline is able to get by at times like this. We're talking about a stock that's down, 12% for the year? We are not talking about a stock that is at any real risk of having to downsize, having to cut wells, having to reduce capex. That's not their reality. And so, while others are struggling to produce natural gas, particularly our American friends to the south, and a lot of those companies down there that are really at a challenging point with natural gas prices so low, Tourmaline is able to continue producing the same amount. And then, as those American peers cut their supply to normalize demand, to find an equilibrium, well, Tourmaline gets to just carry on. And when we get to next winter, when we get into the next summer, when we see another 16 BCF per day of LNG brought online in North America over the next 3 years, where do you think that demand is going to go? Who's going to be a scale player who's been able to produce and grow more naturally through their assets at their own pace throughout whatever pricing pressures you've seen? And who's going to be in pole position when you need a long-term stable supply? It's going to be Canadian companies like Tourmaline. What do you think this might look like? Where are you expecting this stock to go? Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm expecting us to more than recuperate our losses so far this year. Even by this time next year, I expect the stock to be far above the 2025 highs this time next year. And why do I think that? Well, it comes down to this chart. This is the AECO chart, both historical and future forecasts. And I think right away you can see why I'm so bullish on names like Tourmaline, because look at where this chart goes. Not only do we see prices from this year just about double in any scenario. We are at 2025, or right between 24 and 26. We are at the low point on this chart. But we also see massive upside potential. Look at the aggressive case, the bull case there, where you see the AECO price jump upwards into the $6 range. I'm not saying you need that, but you would see a company like Tourmaline almost 6x their profits overnight. And think about what that will do to a share price. If this company continues to produce at the same rate and you see a massive expansion in profit, you're going to see the share price not double, not triple. You're going to see multiple expansion the way you haven't seen ever before. Now, that's obviously a very, very bullish case. That's maybe not the most likely thing to happen. But look at some of those sort of midline cases there, where you see AECO prices at $4. Again, that is almost 4x what they're making today. And remember, even today, even at one of the worst moments for Canadian natural gas pricing, when you have all these challenges all at once, they are still fine. So right now, you can buy a company that has a proven track record with great management. They have made just about one major mistake in the last 5 years. And now, because of that one mistake, you can buy the stock at a great price. And you're looking at a 6 to 12 month reversal. Because if the market doesn't recognize this in the next 6 to 12 months, you better bet somebody with big money will come and scoop up the whole company. And I am not saying I expect that to happen. I think you should expect the stock to start turning around by the winter. And I think you'll see the real value from that turnaround start to come in next year. And then at that point, you're off to the races. Because at that point, again, we are bringing on so much LNG in North America that the whole, oh man, the weather was bad thing is literally going to become a moot point. There will be so much base demand that the price will never be able to drop this low again. And that's not even considering the potential for Canada to improve our natural gas export capacity. Now imagine if Canada on its own is adding either doubling LNG Canada, which by the way, is kind of likely considering the current political climate and the fact that everyone's pushing for these projects. I mean, if you want a big LNG project, you want to export more LNG and you don't want to have to make a whole bunch more work, the easiest thing to do is simply to approve phase 2 of LNG Canada. That way the government gets a big win and nothing has to happen right now. But also you could see some sort of East Coast pipeline, whatever. There's huge potential there. And then we get the ringer, because on top of all this demand for LNG, there's also a lot of potential demand coming online for natural gas itself. Now, just a few years ago, I remember everyone talking about how natural gas is going to be the bridge fuel or the bridge source of energy. It's supposed to take us from coal to green energy. But what's actually happened over the last couple of years has been natural gas ending up as the end goal for many developing economies and for many industries that are demanding a huge amount of power. I'm sure you can think of the one that I'm thinking of right now, AI. Think about how much power these AI companies are demanding for their data centers. Yes, we've got nuclear coming online, but those reactors can take decades to build. Natural gas is much faster. And you don't even have to take my word for it. GE, and I guess it's GE Vernova now, who are producing these natural gas turbines to create electricity. They have a backlog that is in the billions of cubic feet per day. I'm talking somewhere in the range of 8 billion cubic feet a day of backlog at GE Vernova on their own. That one company who's producing turbines to create electricity with natural gas has such a backlog that it would represent a whole nother LNG facility coming online. And that's here in North America. So with all of these things going together, with the American government banning renewable projects, banning solar and wind, there is almost no case arguing that natural gas is going to go away or that natural gas demand is not going to jump upwards. And so we finally get to the topic that I have been hammering on for so long. These stocks are a buy. They're a huge buy right now. And the fact that the market is taking short-term pain and choosing to walk away from some of the best opportunities is ridiculous. The fact that you have big institutional funds, and I mean, I talk about Eric Nuttall quite often. He's kind of a victim of his own craft here, where these big institutions are trying to make their quarterly profit numbers look good. And so they have to make these short-term decisions that don't benefit them. As retail investors, we dodge that whole problem. I don't care how much money I make in 5 months, 6 months. I don't care how much money I make in 5 years. I'm a long-term investor, and a lot of you folks who follow me are too. You're looking for the long-term opportunities. And right now, if you're willing to hold on for the next couple months of maybe a little up, maybe a little down, who knows, of weather dictating your stock price, and you're willing to buy at the dip, if you're willing to buy at, this is the same price they're offering in April. Do you remember April? I mean, the Americans might invade Canada in April. That was the storyline. We were talking about tariffs totally destroying the economy. That was the storyline. And the price is the same today. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I'm getting heated because it's ridiculous that this is the way the market reacts, that it's so short-minded, short-focused, short-sighted, that it just doesn't see the opportunity. Well, lots of investors do, and people are starting to talk. I've heard lots of other people mentioning some of these names. Yeah, I mean, I talk about ARC quite often because I like that they have this condensates business that kept them away from the same kind of, stock prices as Tourmaline. I'll show you guys the comparison here. But ARC has basically avoided a lot of the downside. Obviously means it's like a less rebounding deal, but if you're looking for something safer, maybe check that out. Obviously, there's lots of Canadian natural gas players. I like Tourmaline because that gives me like a focused approach at natural gas. But hey, if you want to buy just about any of the other majors in the space, they're going to have natural gas exposure. Just check out, either any of my videos covering any of the major companies here in Canada producing energy, or go check them out on Seeking Alpha, check them out at fiscal.ai, check them out at any of these resources that we use quite often here on the channel, because I think you're going to find there are a lot of opportunities right now. And retail investors are just about the only ones who can take advantage because you're not handcuffed to the next 3 months. Well, that's about all I have for you folks today. Let me know if you have a favorite natural gas stock that you're going to check out. If you like what we do here on the channel, you like this video, please like it. You like the stocks we cover, the topics we're talking about, please do subscribe. And as always, I hope I see you in the next one.